Hello, everybody. This is Kara Gregorich with BMD, Territory Manager for San Francisco Peninsula area. And today is the second half of our discussion about replacement products. So the last video had to do with Signature Line, which is our wood-clad and wood products. Today we're going to talk about Essential and Elevate. And we have to split them out because there are some distinct differences between the two, not so much with measuring, but product features that we need to be aware of. So we're going to talk about the Elevate casement and double hung. They're both insert products. Elevate, as you may recall, is fiberglass to the exterior, wood to the interior. Essential windows, those are all fiberglass, all Ultrex. Okay, so we'll talk about both. So let's get started. We're going to start with Elevate, the casement. So the nice part of this discussion is we're going to kind of build on what we did last time. So you're going to have an inside opening width and height, and it's going to be exactly the same way that you measured for the next generation insert. Okay, it's exactly the same way. It's the inside opening width, which is just jam to jam. It's easy. And then the height is the tight point or the short point. Okay, so you will see here, I didn't ask you for a sill bevel, right? There's no line, there's no bullet point C, and there's no request for a sill bevel because I don't care. I mean, I care, but you won't get one sill bevel with the product. So take a looky here. You're always going to get a flat frame with the Elevate casement. There's no sill bevel option here. So the sill bevel that you have out in the field is what it is. So you're going to have flat frame, and you're going to have a flat sill always, 3-jam installation, which is typical, and then always a flat frame on the bottom. And I will say 3 1/4 inch is still a magic number. So when we talk about the pocket depth, we talked about that in the first video. So 3 1/4 is the sweet spot. That's what we want with replacement, for the most part, okay? Unless we're talking about the wood insert double hung, which we are not, okay? Elevate, wood double hung insert. So the measuring instructions, once again, are exactly the same, so that's easy. Now, the frame bevel is different on this double hung than it is on the casement. It's 8 3s, so that's why we had to split these out into 2 different PowerPoints, because it wouldn't have made a whole lot of sense. So if you take a look at my sill bevels here, you will see that each one has an 8-degree frame bevel. So if you have greater than 8-degree frame bevel, that's no problem. We can just use frame expanders and filler pieces, and we can figure it out. When you are less than 8-degree frame bevel, that's when we have to be really careful, because if we don't measure correctly, and if we don't measure that sill angle and we don't get it right, if you have, let's say, a 4-degree sill bevel and my window comes with 8, my window could potentially be too big. It could be too big, and that would be bad. All right. So just remember, with the Elevate insert double hung, 8-degree or better is what we want to see. And once again, the pocket dimension, although it's not shown here, is still 3 1/4 inches. 3 1/4 inches. All right, we're going to talk about the essential insert. The measuring instructions, you're going to like this, is exactly the same as the 2 products we just discussed. So it's the frame to frame dimension on the width, and it's the short point on the height. And then when we talk about the actual frame of the window, as you can see here, it's always going to be flat. This is a head jam, but I'll show you the sill in a second, and everything is going to be flat. So essential is all Ultrex. So remember when I told you about that 3 1/4 inch, how that's like where we want to be? Okay. Typically, this essential window has a jam depth of 2 inches from the nail fin to the interior. Now, when we use it for replacement, I'm not going to give you a nail fin. I'm going to remove it for you. And that ends up with a 3 3/32. So it's a little shy. So what we have to do is you look over to the right, and you can see that we add a jam filler, little tiny piece there, in order to accommodate a 3 1/4 inch pocket. Okay. So this just is kind of a side-by-side picture that shows the essential products. So the double hung and single hung are over on the left. And then in the center, you have your essential casement awning. And then over to the right, you have your essential glider. Okay. So you'll note that on all these at the sill, these guys are all flat, and they have a varying degree of ways that it's handled. So you can use wood filler. I can provide you frame expander, 1 inch or 3 inch at the sill to cover up that void that you have between my window and the existing frame. Okay. Now, if you're going to add flush fin, this kind of muddles the water a little bit. So when you add this flush, this is meant for a steel window replacement. Let me just back up and say that. Everything else when we talk about 3¼ inch has to do with a wood pocket. We're not talking about wood pockets anymore. Now we're talking about existing steel windows. So a lot of people like this flush fin because you can set it up from the exterior once you remove the operable portion of that steel window, and you can butt it up nice and tight and close. If you look at the diagram on the right, you're going to see that the addition of the flush fin, we use a round head screw. That round head screw adds a 1/2 inch to the height and the width of the unit. So this is the head jamb. So like wrap that around your mind, right? So you're going to have a round head screw at the head that increases the frame by 1/4 inch and then a 1/4 inch at the bottom. So if you are going to order this as a contractor and give us your frame size, I'm going to shrink the frame size by 1/2 inch because I need to accommodate those round head screws. And that's, now to be clear, that's only if you're adding flush fin. If you're not doing flush fin, then you can skip this portion of the presentation. Okay. So the key takeaways here is you need to measure, like we said before, in at least 3 different places on the width and height. You need to make sure that we're as square as we can be. If it's more than 3/16 at a square, it's going to be tough. It's probably not going to work right. The sill bevel is important. It's limited with Elevate and Essential, so just be careful. I know with Signature line, it's pretty standard at 0, 8, and 14 degree. It's not the same when we get into Elevate and Essential, so you need to really understand what product you intend to put in there so you can take the proper dimensions. Remember that you have a round head screw on the flush fin, and if you're in doubt, always measure and order the smallest dimension. Okay? I hope you found this helpful, and I hope you have a good day. Bye-bye.